Hello, second grade. I just want to say good job. Thank you so much. I had several turn in their assignments, so thank you, Lisette, Dalia, Eden Vasquez. Goodness gracious, several others. Thank you so much for the work. And the first drawing of implied texture, and again, implied texture just means you make something look, you draw something in a way so that it looks as though it has real texture, be it spiky or bumpy. But in this case, we drew, as you can see, guys, or as you know, 3 planks of wood. And we wanted to make them look like real wood, so we used varying lines. They varied, they were different in terms of thickness. We went from thin to medium to thick. So thin, medium, and thick. So good job there, guys. I really appreciate it. Now, today's drawing, guys, week 2 for implied symmetry, excuse me, guys. Week 2 for implied texture, I should say, I'm sorry, will be a piece of firewood. It's gonna look like a small log, and of course I have the information on the presentation, and of course here we have the video. Now, what's the first task? Well, what I want to do is, of course, just start by drawing the piece of firewood. And again, kids, take your time. So what am I doing, guys? Well, I'm going to start with an oval on one end, and I just want to have an idea of the size of this. So I can draw it here. I can draw it here, or you know what? Because I'm drawing for my audience, for my awesome second graders, I'm going to draw this a little larger than usual, okay? So what do I have, guys? I have 2 ovals, one at the left and one at the right. One oval at either end, at both ends of the paper. Now, what am I going to do, guys? Well, I'm going to start to draw a couple of lines. And as you can see, kids, I'm sketching. And again, well, what is sketching, Mr. Ruiz? You say sketching and drawing a lot, but what does that really mean? Well, at first I sketch, which means I don't put a lot of pressure on my pencil because I might make a mistake. And if I make a mistake, it's easier to erase a light line. So that's why I sketch. Now, the image on the presentation, it has what looks like a piece of firewood or a small log, guys. And then it has a small piece up here, kind of like a jagged edge up here, kind of like where a branch used to be, guys, okay? Kind of like, so this is basically a tree limb or a large branch. And then we used to have a small branch over here, guys. So that's what we have over here, guys. That's what we have. Now, on the drawing on the presentation or the drawing of the firewood, and I didn't make that, guys. I'll always be honest with you. I found it on the internet because I knew what I wanted to do in terms of the new drawing, and I figured, well, let me look for that. Now, guys, because I like the overall shape of this, now, guys, now I can start to darken the lines. And I want you to notice something, kids. I'm kind of using, I don't want really smooth lines, not just yet. I want them a little bumpy and jagged because, again, we are working on texture, implied texture, and that means that my drawing has to look a little jagged, a little bumpy, like this piece of firewood. I don't know if any of you guys have ever gone camping, or maybe someone you know, or maybe even your guardian or parent has a fire pit, and then they'll put, of course, some wood in the fire pit, and it's really nice. But the point being this, so we're working on our drawing, on our second implied texture drawing, and so what am I doing, guys? So I'm creating a series of lines. And then if I like it, I say, ooh, you know what? It's not bad. So now, guys, I can start to darken some of those lines. I can darken some of those lines, guys, okay? I can darken. And some lines, guys, are going to be thicker. Some are going to be medium. Some are going to be thin. And why? Well, because that happens in nature. And over on the right, guys, I'm going to go with those concentric ovals, or just the oval inside of another oval. And you see how some are going to get bigger and some are stay small, because this is the rings inside of the limb or the branch. Okay, guys? So this is what I have, guys. And remember, varying. That means this one will be thin, this one will be medium, and this one will be thick, guys. Okay? And remember what I said, guys, from the first presentation, our video. You can start to darken the lines at the bottom of the oval and at the top of the oval. Okay, guys? So that's what we have for that part. And over here, maybe we can get a little oval in here. That would be fine. Now, let's come on over here. Darken the outside lines because I like the drawing so far. So I can start to darken the lines, guys, okay? And I want you to notice that these lines are a little jagged. Why? because I want to reproduce the feel or look, the look of tree bark, because there was once bark on this branch. Now what is bark? Bark is basically the protective skin that you see on trees or branches, limbs, trunk, branches, okay? So that's what I'm drawing now, guys. And I'm using these kind of jagged lines, if you notice, guys. So there's curved, and then there's jagged. There's curved, and then there's jagged. Curved, 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 jagged. And then let's just finish it off over here. So I'll stop there. Curved, a little bit of jagged. Curved, a little bit of jagged. Curved, a little bit of jagged. And we're going to end there. Now, what do I do? Well, remember what I said within the last presentation. So you want some of these lines to be a little thicker than others. So for this one, as you can see, guys, I'm going with thick on this one, guys, okay? I'm going to go with thick on this one. And then for this one back over here, I'm going to go with medium. This one I'm going to leave fine or thin. And then this one, I'm going to go a little thicker. Maybe here. Okay, I'm going to start to darken or increase the width. Okay, I want some of these to be wider than others, varying. That means that they differ. They're different. Some are thin, some are medium. And over here, I'll draw the outside of this piece of bark or the protective layer of skin, or kind of if a tree, if you could say a tree has skin, then you would call it bark. Okay, so that's what it uses to protect itself from insects, from some birds, and just pretty much anything that can cause it harm. So again, okay, it's okay. I'm going to darken this part of it here. I'm going to darken over here. Some dark lines here. I'm going to darken some of the underneath of the jagged lines. I'm going to increase the width. Okay, guys? Okay, so what do we have now, guys? We have something that looks like a piece of firewood. Now, I'm not done yet because I'm okay with the drawing. That means I can live with it. I'm not proud of my work, but I always do try. You know me well and good, guys. You know I aim to please. That means that I always try my best to draw well for you guys, because I want you guys to say, hey, that's pretty good. I can do that if I really try. Of course you can, guys. You can do anything you set your mind to, guys. And I'm darkening this part over here near the jagged bark, near the jagged part of the bark. Remember, we had curved and jagged. So I'm just darkening underneath some of that jagged because I want to make it look as though that part of the bark is sticking out, sticking up. So that's why I'm darkening this part of the jagged line. Just basically darkening the jagged line, increasing the width, okay? So now this looks as though it's three-dimensional, or that it's popping out, three-dimensional. And you guys, some of you will remember that three-dimensional just means it has width, it has height, and it has depth. So we want to make it look at times as though this has depth, height, and of course width, guys. So that's what I'm doing, guys. So that's how we come up with or create our drawing of something that looks like firewood, guys. Now, I know you're going to do an okay job. And I'm so proud of you guys. Thank you so much for the kids that turned in the work. And I know that some of you will be able to view the content, view the material, and some of you will not. So don't worry. If you can turn in your work, then I'm a happy man. And if you can't for some reason, just try to let me know what's happening, and I'll always try my best to help you. You know that, guys. You know that. So what do we have, guys? We have something that looks like firewood, guys. We have something that basically looks like a small log. And then, of course, this is placed on the campfire, within the campfire, or in a fire pit. But that's something I never want you guys to experiment with, okay? Not just yet. So that's what we're going to do, guys. Our second drawing of implied texture will be this, our log, kids, okay? Or something that looks like a piece of firewood. And if you look, if you take a close look at it, it almost looks like a small log. So that's what we'll be working on, guys, okay? And then if you want, you can add maybe some jagged lines here at the bottom, because this part of the log and these are kind of like jagged lines, kids, or the technical term is called a hatching pattern. So there's just these lines that I'm putting down here. And why, guys? Well, because I want to make it look like this part of the firewood or the log isn't receiving much sunlight. Because if this were real, if it were sitting outside in the backyard or in some field somewhere, in some forest, this part of it would look dark because the sun is making contact with the top of it and not the bottom. So that's what we have for this week's drawing, guys, okay? And I know you're going to do a good job just as you did last week. So keep up the good work. Let me know if you have any doubts or if you need some help. Email me, and then I'll try my best to contact you, and I'll try my best to help you with whatever it is that you're having doubts with or having trouble with. Okay, guys? So that's our drawing number 2 for implied texture. And again, I hope you approve. I hope you like it. And it should look like it's a bit rough and bumpy, because after all, that's what implied texture means. Of course, we want it to look as though it has real texture, but because it's on paper and not a real piece of firewood, of course it's going to be mostly flat. But even though it's drawn on the paper, I can still feel it, and it does feel a little bumpy and warped, a little bumpy. But the important thing is that you make it look as if it's real bark, a real piece of wood. And I know you guys can do this because you guys did an amazing job with your wood, with your wood planks, with your 3 rectangles that you made look like wood planks, like pieces of wood. So good job, guys. And this will be drawing number 2. Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed the presentation, and be safe, guys.